Hi, this training video will teach you how to perform the Lightning McQueen qualification tasks. Now, there are actually three different qualifications that you need to take. There is Q2. Now, upon passing Q2, okay, you will be given Q3 access. So if you fail Q2, you will need to do a retake for Q2 before you can get Q3, okay? And if you fail Q3, you have a retake for Q3. So when you are doing the task for the first time, when you're watching this video, you will have access to do Q2 and also Q4. All right. So once you pass Q2, you will have access to do Q3. All right. Now, why is it this way? Because the production task is slightly different. Okay, there'll be two different tasks which I will explain to you. Uh, I will explain to you which qualifications you need to attempt first. Now, first you do Q2. Now, what is Q2? You'll be given an image of a vehicle where the panel is already been annotated. You are required to select the vehicle parts correctly based on the vehicle types given. You will be attempting 25 images. Once you have done 25 images, you will receive a stop warning task. At this point, you just cancel and leave. What are you given? You'll be given an image where one panel will be annotated, okay, and next to it there'll be a drop down, okay, on what panel is it, okay. So here's how it's a sample image, how it will look like. So how would you know what this panel is? How would you know what all the panels are? So basically, you need to basically know each of the vehicle panels that are here. There are 6 different vehicle types, and each of them have got their own document. So if you click on any of these Word documents, you will basically see a drop down of all the parts that has been shown to you. Okay. So you need to go through all these different panels that has been shown to you, okay, which are the panels, okay, and for all the vehicle types, okay. Now basically the annotations here, okay, they show you where the panel is, okay. Those are the only parts where the panels are. So I know, for example, when you say rear door, okay, for us common understanding, we thought the door will be until here, but unfortunately, okay, for us the door will be only until here, okay. And also for the quarter panel, usually we thought this whole thing will be the quarter panel. No, it will only be until here. So all these things are quite important, okay, for you to go through. Now there are 6 different vehicle types that you need to look through each and understand the panels. Most of the panels will be same, but then there will be some major differences between sedan and coupe and hatchback and SUV minivan truck. There will be some significant differences. Now, first step, what do you do? First, you familiarize yourself with all the 6 different vehicle types and their body panels. Okay. Now, please understand we are only interested in exterior body panels. The only interior body panel that you will ever see identified in the panels are steering wheels. And why is that? I will explain to you in a while. Now, selecting the label. So once you have annotated the part I shown in the task, okay, you will need to select a label from the drop down. Now, once you have selected the correct panel, submit the answer. So now I'm going to show you how it looks like in the portal. So this is Q2. I click to accept the task. As you can see, there is already a part annotated and you just need to select the drop down. Now, please take note, the right and left of the vehicle is from the vehicle's viewpoint, not from our viewpoint. Okay, please make sure you get this right. Okay, so it's according to the vehicle's viewpoint, not our viewpoint. All right. So once you have seen what object has been annotated, you just from the drop down you select what the answer is, and once you have done, you just submit the task. In order for you to do this task successfully, you need to basically go through all the different vehicle types that we have in this list here. Okay, go through all the vehicle types and understand their parts, the exterior parts. Okay, now that is for Q2. So I am going to now go through Q3 in this training video, but remember, you will only get access to Q3 if you pass Q2. All right, so Q3, what is Q3? Q3 is quite similar to Q2, but instead of labeling the panels, you need to annotate the respective panels. Okay, now you are required to label, you are required to annotate you are required to annotate the required exterior panel of the vehicle. Once you have identified the correct panel, you need to annotate the panel correctly. You will be given 10 images. Once you complete the 10 images, you will be presented with a warning task. Now, what are you given? You'll be given of an image where the image has been taken from different viewpoints of a vehicle. Okay, and at the top you'll be given a panel that you need to annotate. So in this task, you will require to annotate that panel that you are given on the top here. Again, this is for qualification. For production, it will be entirely different. So please make sure you are actually looking at this. Okay. Now, what is expected of you? You are required to use the polygon tool in the task and annotate the exterior panel that is provided on the top of the image. Only one panel is required to be annotated, so you will only have one annotation. Okay, and again, you don't have to classify the panels because the classification is already given to you. Now, remember again, you need to basically be very familiar with all the 6 different vehicles, because only when you know the vehicles and you know basically how to annotate them correctly. Okay, because as I told you, there will be some significant differences on how we understand the panel and how the task is designed. Okay, now annotating the exterior required labels of a vehicle. So basically, using the polygon tool, you annotate the vehicle's exterior panel. You're only required to annotate one panel. So don't annotate any interior panels except if it's a steering wheel. And even then, the steering wheel should only be annotated if it's from an exterior view. I have an explanation at the bottom. Now, here's how it looks like when you annotate. Now, some rules to remember. You're required to only annotate visible panels that are more than 20% visible. Any panels that are not visible due to an angle where the image is less and a panel is less than 20% visible, don't annotate them. Okay. So, for example, here are some of the parts where, like you see from this viewpoint, you cannot see the right rear view mirror and also the rear lights, the left backlight. You cannot see them, so you will not annotate them. Okay. Now, this is just a general guideline because in the qualification, you will not have this issue because you will already be given which panel to annotate. Okay. Now, again, here's another example. So here you see it's viewable more than 20%. So you annotate. So again, once you have annotated the part, you don't have to label in the drop down. It will just be part 1 because you already have the classification here. All right. Now, next is this. Okay. What do you do in following situations? Okay. So here are a few scenarios that I want you to look at. So number 1, if there are any panels that are damaged from the vehicle, so if you get an image where you have a panel that you need to annotate and the panel is actually damaged, okay, but you can still see the panel, no matter how bad the damage is, but you can still identify the panel, you annotate how it's damaged and label it as the part. Do not estimate how the panel should be if it was not damaged. Okay, so like here you see the hood is dented. You just annotate the dented area of the hood and label it as, I mean, you don't have to label it, but you get the idea. Okay, so you don't estimate as if like the panel was good. Okay, Now, scenario 2, what if the panel is fully detached or is missing? Like, for example, in this picture here, you see the rear bumper that's fully detached and is fallen off, okay? Or if it's fully detached. So what you do is you need to annotate how the bumper will look like it, as if it was not damaged, and you need to estimate the shape and size and annotate them. And as a rule of thumb, don't go beyond the tires, because there's no way the bumper is going to be lower than the tire. Okay, now, so here's an example. Scenario 3, steering wheels that are visible from an exterior view. Yes, that is the only interior panel, and under only these circumstances, you will annotate the steering wheel, which is it's from an exterior view and you can see more than 20% of the steering visible. Now, initially we had some confusion over the lift gate annotations, and this is for the SUV, minivan, and hatchback vehicles. Okay, so the lift gate for this type of vehicles especially is only till the panel right here. Okay, do not include the glass here. Okay, and do not certainly include the top part here. Okay, so if you look at all the um, vehicle types that we have, if you look at the lift gate, you will see that we have only annotated this part right here. Okay, and we exclude the lights here. Okay, so let me zoom in. See here. However, if there are no lights here, then I mean, obviously when you lift this thing up, these lights also will move together with the lift gate. But when you're annotating this panel, if there are lights on the lift gate itself, okay, you go around them. Okay, don't cut through any lights or any panels. That's a very important point. Okay, now next thing is, so this is for SUV, for minivan, okay, for truck, for a lot of things. So make sure you go through this instruction document, okay, familiarize yourself with all these vehicles, okay, and see how they've annotated them. And if there's lights on the lift gate, you go around them, okay, don't cut through. Like here, there's no lights on the lift gate, so it's fine. So other parts, what parts are excluded from the annotation? So any interior parts, okay, that are on the exterior, you and don't annotate them, obviously. So like for example, the steering wheel on a vehicle, okay, and if it's an interior view and you have the steering wheel, you don't annotate them. You're only interested from exterior views. Okay. Now, if there's a spare tire, okay, that is not attached on the wheels, you don't annotate them. Okay, you only annotate the spare tires if they're being used on the wheels. Okay, and this is merely for production, but I'm just going through because so that you'll know. Okay, now what are other car parts that you don't annotate? So for exterior panels, any side skirting and also spoiler, you will not annotate them. Okay, and another thing is, if you looked at all the vehicles that I have given here, all the examples that I've for the vehicles, you will realize that this part right here and this part right here will never ever have any annotations. We would not have covered them. And also this panel between the two glasses, also we would not have um, mentioned anything. Okay, so because remember, they only want that particular panel annotated. So if it's the glass, they just want the glass annotated. If it's the door, there's just until here, the door. Okay, so this part and this part and this part will never have any parts annotation. Okay, so edge cases, missing panels. So again, if panels are missing, you need to annotate them by estimating where they are supposed to be, and you need to annotate them properly, like how it will look like. Okay, like here I know the bumper is missing, but we are not focusing on the bumper. You see the two lights, the grille and the license plate. Okay, missing window, again, if the window is rolled down fully, okay, you need to annotate them as if that they are missing. If it's rolled down half, only capture the half part. Don't estimate, don't capture the whole frame. Okay, only if it's rolled down fully, you cannot see the window, then only you annotate it as missing. Okay, I mean you annotate the missing part. Okay, not annotate as missing. Okay, because there's two, as I told you earlier, there are two different tasks. One is parts, another one is damage. I haven't gone through the damage yet. So here we have the wheels. So the wheels annotation, you need to remember your annotation for the wheels has to be how the wheels will look like on the vehicle. Okay, not just a round circle. You can't follow this annotation right here, because here we are just, the vehicle is on like this side. Okay, you need to make sure you, okay, you need to make sure you look at it from the angle of the vehicle. Like for example, this right here, you see. Okay, so and you will know that always the vehicle will, tire will be lower than this body part here, because the tire will be on the ground. Okay, you cannot have a tire that's low, that's shorter than this fender part here, because there's no logic. The tire will not reach the floor. Okay, so this is basically how you work on parts annotation. Again, it's crucial for you to understand each of the parts and also how they look like on the vehicle, because if the panel is missing, you need to imagine and annotate them. So here I'm going to go and look at Q3, how it looks like, to show you. Again, remember Q3 will only be given to you if you pass Q2. So I'm going to click on this Q3. So you see where's the part given, and you just need to annotate the part. So here you see the fender. So just because it's damaged, don't go and estimate it how it should be. You just annotate how the damaged fender looks like. Okay, no matter how bad the damage is, if you can see the part, you just annotate that part. Okay, and remember guys, you will only have one polygon to annotate. So you'll only use one polygon to annotate for one object. There will never be more than one polygon for the qualification. Okay, so that is for Q3. Now let's look at Q4. Okay, so Q4 is damage annotation. So Q2 and Q3 focuses on parts annotation. Okay, Q4 focuses on damage annotation. Now you are required to annotate the damaged areas of the vehicle based on the damage classifications given. Now unlike the parts, okay, you don't have any rule or objection where there are certain parts you don't annotate. Damage, wherever the damage is on the vehicle, as long as it is an exterior damage, you annotate it based on the classifications given. So there are 10 images that you need to do. Once you've done 10, you'll get a stop warning task. So you will be given an image with one vehicle damage indicated. So there'll be one classification of damage given based on your understanding of the classification, which we will go through now. You need to annotate the damaged area. What is expected of you? Again, using the polygon tool, draw one annotation using the polygon tool covering the damaged area. Again, understanding the vehicle panels will be useful. Okay, so now let's look at the more important thing, which is the different types of damage classifications. So scratches, what are scratches? So there are two types of scratches. One is a scratch, the other one is minor scratch, which I'll go through in a while. So the scratch is basically anything that is damaging the surface of the vehicle that requires repainting. Okay, and if you have a scratch that covers a huge area, it will definitely not be a minor scratch. You'll put it under scratch. So damages such as tar, burns, and etc. that causes also uh, repainting will also be on this category. Dent, obviously, if there's a curve or bent inwards, okay, to the inwards part of the vehicle that changes the shape of the surface, obviously that is a dent. Okay, and this is basically still at a panel level. Crushed is basically if you have a vehicle where a few number of panels are heavily damaged. Okay, so you can see that they are crushed or crumpled, and you can see that a large area is affected. Okay, and you know that it's required major repairs. Okay, now misaligned or loose is where incorrect position or alignment of panels. Now remember this, please. I know that on a vehicle there will be some gaps on the vehicle panels, but don't treat everything as a misalignment. Okay, you have to see the gap between the panels. If it's too big, then only it is a misalignment. Missing, obviously, if the panel is missing, you need to annotate that missing panel, whatever is missing, and label them as missing. Okay, so remember in the parts you were to annotate that missing part. Same for the damage also, you need to repeat that same annotation and label them as missing. But in the qualification you won't have to label them missing because you will already be given the classification. Glass break is where windows or any of the lights that are broken, you annotate them. You annotate the whole broken panel, because think of it like this: when you are replacing a broken lamp, you're going to replace the whole thing. Same for the window and glass. So minor scratch is something that is damaging the surface, but just polishing and waxing will be required to fix it. So you don't have to repaint. So in that case, you just label them as minor scratch. However, if the minor scratch is a huge area, when I say huge area, it's not just a single scratch. It covers a bigger portion that's bigger than your palm. Then you will label it as scratch, not just minor scratch. Okay. Now, tear, hole, or crack. Here are examples of a tear. Okay, or of a crack. Hole, obviously you know how it looks like, and also tear. Okay, the tear here. Okay. Now, for qualification, you only annotate what the damage that you are required to. So if they ask you to annotate the tear, you'll only annotate this part here. Okay, you will ignore the misalignment here, you will ignore the glass break here, you will ignore the scratch here for qualification. But for production, okay, you will have 4 different annotations in this image. Sorry, 3. You'll have one covering the entire glass panel here and labeling it as glass break. You'll have one that annotate here where you label misalignment. You'll have one here, sorry, four classifications, 4 annotations. You'll have one annotation here where it covers the tear, and you'll have one big annotation here which covers the scratch. And because this is a huge area, it will be scratch, not minor scratch. This is for production. I'm just telling you in advance so that you actually can visualize what you're trying to do. Okay, because the Q2, Q3, Q4, they all are for the same task. We are separating it so that if you pass the parts qualification, you can work on the parts task. If you pass on the damage task, you can work on the damage task. If you pass both, good for you. You can work on both. Now, step 2, you start annotating the visible damage. As a rule of thumb, remember, if you have a vehicle that, for example, here that it's focusing on the rear view, okay, you can definitely see the left front door and rear door, but you can see the damage on the front. But because the viewpoint is not a viewpoint that you can estimate, you can see the extent of the damage, you will not annotate the damage here because you cannot see the extent of the damage. You don't know if it's just dent, you don't know if it's crushed or crumpled. So best case, you will not annotate it, okay, because it's from the rear viewpoint. Now again, for the qualification, using the polygon tool, draw around the visible damage, okay, and you don't have to you are required to capture the damage in a single polygon. Please don't draw two polygons for the qualification, okay. So here's an example how the polygon tool works for the damage. So I have a bunch of scenarios. For example, if the panel is missing or fully detached from the vehicle, you will estimate how the panel will look like on the vehicle, how it's supposed to be, okay. But for this qualification, you don't have to label it as missing. But for the production, you will need to choose the word missing. Scenario 2, if the damage is connected several panels, you will capture all of it in a single polygon. Don't capture the fallen parts or what. Just capture the damaged areas only. Okay. Use a single polygon for qualification and only the damage that you are required to. Okay. So if you get this same picture but the classification is missing, you don't go and annotate this whole thing and label it missing, because the only missing part here is the bumper. So depending on what classification you got in the qualifications, you only focus on that, and it's only one polygon. Now next thing, here are some examples of the annotation. Okay, scratch, example, okay, dent, okay, example, another example of a dent, another example of a dent. So crush, okay, again the whole area here that's been crushed. Here's another example. You see how we have excluded the wheels because the wheels are not crushed. The wheels will be annotated in a different classification where the wheels are basically misaligned, but you don't have to focus on that. You just focus on this when you're doing the production instructions. There when you look at the instructions, there will be all these things addressed. Okay, here you see only the panels that are crushed, okay, all right, the whole thing. So misaligned or loose, here's one, okay, here's another one. So wheels that are missing and panels that are missing, see how we've annotated the shape of the wheel and it goes beyond the fender because the wheel should be on the bottom, okay. And also here the bumper, the hood, and if the glass break, obviously you annotate just the glass that's broken. And if you have if you have several spots that are broken, you still annotate the whole thing, because the logic that I told you is if you're going to replace this, you're going to replace the whole thing, correct? You're not going to just replace the broken bits. Now that is for the Q4, okay, damage annotation. So now I'm going to just look at Q4 to show you how it looks like. So here you have a picture where the damage is missing. So using the polygon tool, you will annotate how the panel should be, okay, on the vehicle. Now remember, when you're annotating a part, no matter qualification or production, okay, do not cut through like this. Okay, do not cut through. Okay, do not cut like this. Sorry, let me just delete this. Okay, let's just say you're drawing the bumper. Don't cut through like this. Okay, there's no way the bumper is going to look like, no way the bumper is going to cut through this part here. Okay, you need to draw like how the bumper will look as if like it's attached properly. So it will go around it. It will not cut through, it will go around it. So there should be like a curve. And remember, don't simply annotate a weird shape. You are annotating how the panel will look like. Okay, All right. All right. Please remember. Okay. So this is how the task will look like. Only focus on the damage classification given. All right. So this is the qualification for. Okay. So remember all the things that I've spoken to you. Please make sure you go through the vehicles and understand the panels and use a bit of logic when you're annotating missing panels. Don't underestimate, at the same time, don't overestimate. All right. And remember, there has been some changes for the lift gate annotation. So please, if you have done the if you have done the qualifications before, okay, I've told you to annotate the whole thing because that was what we have been told also. But this is the new version where the everything has been updated accordingly. Okay. And please, when you're looking at the picture, read these parts here. Okay, if there's anything important, we would have mentioned it here. So please make sure you go through this part, all these classifications, sorry, all these panel identifications carefully before you attempt the qualifications. All right. Now, great. Okay, so and that is basically all the different qualifications. Okay, remember Q2 and Q4 will be given to you immediately. Once you pass Q2, you'll be given access to Q3. So each of remember Q2, Q3, Q4 has got their own retakes. So if you fail any of them, you'll be given a chance to retake. And that is it. If you fail the retake, you will not be given a chance anymore. Okay, so that is basically the training for Lightning McQueen Q2, Q3, and Q4. Okay, and if you pass the qualification, you need to watch another video. Okay, and after watching it, then only you'll be given access to do the production task. Depending, you need to pass Q2 and Q3 if you're going to work on parts annotation. For damage annotation, you only have to pass Q4. Right? So that's it. Okay, so now if you like this, if you find this video interesting and you have any questions or if you have any comments, you can basically give your comments in the YouTube channel. Okay, so another thing that I want you to do is I want you to subscribe the YouTube so that if I have any updates for the task, I can actually post it there, and you will be able to see the updates there. Okay, so I have and so another thing is, if you've subscribed, you will be able to see all the new updates that I'm posting there. Okay, there might be new qualifications that I'm posting, but you might not have access to it. So if you see a new video, okay, you can just watch it. Okay, it might be useful to you if you're on the project. If you're not, you can just watch it in for your own uh, leisure. And it will be good if we decide to open the qualification to you, or if you're allocated for that project, you will already know where to go and find those videos. Okay, so subscribe the video, and make sure you subscribe to me, and also let me know if you have any comments. Okay, all right, thank you.